Hey guys, it's Maddie, and today we are going to be discussing and explaining every song on Midnight's 3 a.m. edition, plus the bonus track Hits Different. So let's get right into it. Okay, track 1 is Lavender Haze. This is obviously a love song. Lavender haze is a term that's used to express like being in love. Taylor's words on the song are, I think a lot of people have to deal with this now, not just public figures, because we live in the era of social media. If the world finds out that you're in love with somebody, they're going to weigh in on it. And so the song is just kind of about the fact that you know that there's people who are weighing in on your relationship and scrutinizing it, but it doesn't even matter because you're so in love with the person, so in love that nothing else matters. Track 2, Maroon, is a song that reminisces on a lost romance. It uses the color maroon as a metaphor for kind of the phases and the tumultuous nature of the relationship. And this kind of calls back to Red, her album and song, where she describes that love is burning red. It's very, very passionate, just straightforward, whereas Maroon has its ups and downs. It's kind of unpredictable. And it's just kind of the fact that you can't get this person off your mind even though you've kind of lost them already. Antihero is a self-reflecting song. Taylor calls back to how the media views her and then how she views herself. She basically said this is a deep dive of all of her insecurities and the things that she hates about herself, and that sometimes she just feels too big, like her life is literally fake. She said that sometimes she feels like she's not even a real person because she is so heavily under the microscope. And the song is just kind of poking fun at that and how she's insecure because she's always under a microscope, and then she also has to like sit with herself and her feelings and sometimes feels that she's literally not even real because her life is so big. Track 4, Snow on the Beach, is about the newness and excitement of a relationship. It's about falling in love, and she compares snow on the beach to falling in love because it doesn't really make sense, but it's beautiful anyway. And she kind of questions if it's real or not because it's so beautiful and rare. It's kind of like a juxtaposition. You know, that's my favorite word. Snow on the beach. Beach is normally associated with very warm weather. Snow, wintry, doesn't really make sense for it to be on the beach, but it still happens. I don't know. I really like that she's a metaphor like that. It's very unique. Track 5, You're on Your Own, Kid. Taylor discusses how she's had to handle such a big and eventful life since she broke out into stardom at such a young age. The lyrics themselves talk about somebody who is in love with a guy who barely notices her and how she kind of stayed hopeful throughout it, but eventually realized that she really was on her own and that he wasn't going to notice her, and he never really cared. So she'd always really been on her own, but she kind of thought like, oh, he's going to notice me eventually. It's fine. But then she realized that never really was the case. Personally, I think this could also be interpreted in the way that it's a metaphor for her own life, perhaps even in the way that her record label betrayed her with Scott Borchetta selling her masters to Scooter Braun. She gave them all these years of great music, brought such big success to Big Machine Records, and then was betrayed suddenly when they sold it to Scooter Braun. And she kind of realized that, oh, they never actually cared about me. They cared about the money that I was making them. And it's kind of just a song about betrayal and realizing that like the only person that you're ever going to have is yourself. Midnight Rain is kind of a flipped perspective than we're normally used to. Taylor's known for writing breakup songs, but that's not all she does. Obviously, she gave us Folklore and Evermore. Like, I don't know what else all these haters need to prove that she is much more than that. But as I was saying, this is kind of a flipped perspective. She takes accountability for the ending of a relationship and how this guy kind of wanted a huge future with her, but she just didn't feel the same. She wanted to focus on her career and herself. And it's very much a self-aware song. She's basically saying like, yeah, sorry, but this is not what I want. I'm out of here. And she compares Sunshine to Midnight Rain, complete opposites. The guy was Sunshine, she was Midnight Rain. They had opposite intentions in the relationship, and that's what led to its downfall. Question looks back on a lost relationship, and she's kind of asking her ex if any of his new girls can compare to her and what they had. She secretly hopes that he hasn't moved on because she's kind of in the same place. She's like, well, I could try to move on, but I don't know if anyone's going to compare to you. And she kind of asks these very, very intrusive and deep questions and kind of compares their relationship to if there's a new relationship, and then says, it's just a question. Like, why are you mad? It's just a question. It's almost like gaslighting. I love it. Vigilante, I don't swear on this channel, is a common topic for Taylor. Revenge and karma, we all know and love that for her. The line, don't get sad, get even, kind of summarizes this whole song. I think it could be about Scooter Braun and how the whole buying the master situation really backfired on him, and how Taylor kind of took what happened and turned it into something beneficial for her. And then also the fact that like Taylor didn't start the drama herself, but it turned into an advantage for her. Meanwhile, Scooter's losing, as usual. Bejeweled talks about being held back because of a relationship and still wanting to shine by herself even though she's with somebody. She doesn't believe she's being valued for her full worth, and kind of reminds the guy she's with that she can leave and find somebody new who's going to value her or be just fine on her own as well. Labyrinth is about the mystery, fear, and excitement that is falling in love, perhaps even after being treated poorly in a past relationship. She kind of thinks that she'll never fall in love again after the trauma that she went through with her past relationship, but is proven wrong when this person, Joe, enters her life. I love the change in the chorus that's like, uh-oh, I'm falling in love, to, oh no, I'm falling in love, to, oh, I'm falling in love. Shows the phases of falling in love after trauma. Like at first she's like really scared and she's like, oh no, I can't do this. And then by the end she's like, oh, yeah, love can be good, you know? Karma was a highly anticipated song from the record. Taylor sings about karma and how it's always on her side and there's no use worrying about anything because karma will always take care of it for her. It has never failed her. Some people fear karma because they know that they've messed up and that they've done a lot of wrong things, but Taylor finds comfort in karma because she knows that she has good morals and that it's never going to do her wrong. She knows she has a good conscience and everything will work out for her, and she will find her peace even in bad situations, even if it takes a little bit of time. Like the whole Kim and Kanye drama, at first everyone was against her and it comes out years later that Taylor was right the whole time. She knew it. She didn't have to come out and be like nasty about it like Kim and Kanye were. Sweet Nothing is just a beautiful little love song. It romanticizes the little things of being in love, like hearing your partner humming in the kitchen and just being like, oh, that's my person. And shows that Taylor's not afraid to be vulnerable with her love because she is so comfortable with him. God bless Joe, honestly. In Mastermind, Taylor sings about how she knew she would end up with Joe and that nothing would stop them from being together because she knows they're soulmates. However, she did do a few things along the way just to ensure that the process was on track, and she just kind of sings about that, how it wasn't accidental, but she knew it was going to happen anyway. The Great War is a song about a relationship surviving a big argument and coming out on the other side better than they were before. This has a very similar theme to Afterglow, and it's kind of just like this huge argument, and that if they can survive it, they can survive anything. So in this case, she compares it to a war and surviving a big war. Bigger Than the Whole Sky is about losing someone you loved and cared about after only being with them for a short time, and just kind of how it feels unfair and makes you feel angry. This particular loss that's discussed in the song is left up for interpretation. I know there's a lot of different ideas circulating, but I feel like we don't really have a place to comment on the exact meaning of the song. That's why my explanations for these songs are kind of open-ended. Obviously, I think everyone interprets it in their own ways, and that Taylor writes them in her own perspective most of the time, but that's really not for us to say. That's why music is so beautiful, because you can kind of, make a song fit how you want it to fit in your life. This could be discussing a lost relationship that was short but very passionate, and the pain that comes with the thought that you could have learned and had so much more if you had a longer amount of time with them. Paris talks about how Taylor keeps her relationship private while the outside is in a frenzy, but it doesn't matter because they have each other. This is kind of a similar theme to Lavender Haze, where it's like, yeah, there's scrutiny outside of the relationship, but why does it matter if they have each other? The song starts out with a bunch of gossip and Taylor saying she's uninterested in hearing it because nothing else matters but her love. And she also talks about how just because she's not posting Joe everywhere on her social media, that doesn't mean that they're not in love. Romance is not dead if you keep it just yours. If anything, I feel like it makes it more special. High Infidelity talks about cheating in a relationship, kind of implying that it was justified because of the way she was treated. She basically sings about how too many games were played. Taylor felt like she was not loved enough, which led her to cheating as a reaction. Obviously, we don't know the whole story. We don't know all the perspectives. My favorite line is, there's many different ways that you can kill the one you love. The slowest way is never loving them enough. I think that's so true. And it's like, if you're not going to treat your person the way they deserve to be treated, then somebody else will. Glitch talks about an unlikely relationship, how it doesn't really make sense or add up, but it turned out to be true love. And she's basically saying that their relationship was so unlikely that it must have been a glitch in the universe, kind of like the same with Snow on the Beach. Like, it's just so unusual wasn't supposed to happen, but it did. It could be about her and Joe, as she was in a relationship when they first met, hence we were supposed to be just friends being the first line. And in the bridge she says, I'd go back to wanting dudes who give nothing because that's how most of her past relationships were, but Joe was different, so it wasn't supposed to work out for them, but it did. Would've, could've, should've talks about how Taylor was essentially groomed by John Mayer when she was just 19 and he was 32. She reflects on the relationship and deeply regrets it 14 years later. It makes her angry to think about how she was taken advantage of and how John knew exactly what he was doing because, again, he was 32 years old. That's a whole grown man. She says that she can't let the situation go. It still haunts her. It makes her angry and unsettled, which is very, very valid. Very much a song of regret and wishing that you could go back and change what happened. In Dear Reader, Taylor gives advice to the listener in the song based on her own life experiences, but she does give the advice and then says, never take advice from someone who's falling apart, which makes the listener kind of question whether or not the advice was viable. And it seems like Taylor secretly thinks that she's not a worthy role model because she sees herself with many flaws, as we learn in Antihero, even though we know this is not true. Like, to her core, Taylor is a good person, but I think everyone kind of has a habit of being more self-deprecating on themselves, and that kind of shows in this song. The bonus track, Hits Different, talks about a heartbreak that hurts so badly it hits her differently than any other past heartbreaks. She sings about how moving on was always easy for her, but this time it's not, hence it hits different. And she has a lot of questions about what her ex is doing now and kind of just like wants to know any minuscule piece of information that she can about what they're up to. So those were brief explanations of every song on Midnights. I didn't go into detail because there were 20 songs. And also I think that Midnights is an album that can be left up for interpretation a lot. I think she has such a cool mix of songs on this album. I love it. I love pop Taylor, so this was great for me. And I hope you guys kind of understand the songs a little bit more, even if it's just kind of on a surface level. And I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.